Here we go. City Skylines 2.
Today we are going to be starting a new City Skyline save on normal mode in Tech. We'll call it West Goldfield. We start out pause. Gonna take a look around, see what's going on here. See the elevation, see what materials we have coming in infrastructure too. And what I think we should start with is water, because it's very important. And I think it would make sense to intake near the road and get rid of it around here, because we do not want it to be interfering with each other. As we can see, the water flows this way. Now what we gotta do is link this up with pipes, but the water pumping station actually requires something. So in that case, we'll make a little dirt path to the railroads. Now we need power, and what I like to do to begin with is take power from here, and conveniently there's a under road wires here. But also have our own power source, so that initially you're exporting, and then you'll be able to import. Now you can't actually do that early game, I don't think, but that's alright. Now we want to see where we can get the most wind power without being too far away. And that looks like it's going to be over here, because it is higher up near a mountain. Now all we have to do with this is link it up to the roads. And we can do that with some power lines. And we'll put it right there, out of the way. The next thing we want to do is start the game to see what kind of demand we have. And it is going to be a little bit of everything. So what we want to do is now make a road down the middle. Not necessarily the middle, but a road for everything to branch off of. We'll put it down this way, making sure that the zoning grid is aligned. I think it would make sense to have commercial along the roads, and then with a few offshoots near the water, preferably with some housing. With that said, we also have to keep the industry away from the housing and water deposits underground. So I think it would make sense to put industry in the corner, especially because as we can see there's a highway here and an underground highway here. So what we'll do because of that is we will take a road this way. And we want houses, so we will take another road, preferably a straighter one this way, and then keep it similarly following the coastline closely too. And then later we'll maybe put a grid on the inside. We can start zoning it, especially because we're losing money. So we're going to start with EU low density waterfront housing, and I like to have larger Now we can jump on over to the industry and zone a few industrial buildings. This though we want to zone up now. Now that we have a few industrial buildings being built, we're going to need somewhere to sell these products. This is where the commercial district comes in. Now I want to keep the commercial district near the industry to keep shipping cheap and keep the products cheap for everyone else. But we want to keep it near the houses or where houses are going to be. With that said, a little spot here with a few grids maybe would be ideal. Now I want to avoid little gaps in it though, because that is not helpful. Along here, we're going to put small buildings or shops. Like I said earlier, I need to keep the bigger buildings only. Now the reason I left space here is because I want to put a few trees. At this point, we see that the demand is still growing for a lot of everything actually. I think now we'll start a little zone so that we are closer to the business. I feel like this is looking nice already. So now let's get a few houses down. Let's rebuild another road parallel to it. Now again, just like the commercial district, we want to have a few houses here because this is going to end up being somewhat a main road. So we'll do the exact same thing with the line tool. And just put it to the closest setting to keep a lot of trees as a barrier. Now over here, this is definitely a main road, and is going to only grow. So that's why I left space for it to eventually get larger. In the meantime though, we don't want, essentially, a highway behind the house. So we'll put up a few trees here. An additional note is trees are actually very good for people's health. So, it might not be a factor in the game, but it's an important thing to consider when thinking about realism. Starting to see the houses getting smaller, so instead of letting them get too small, we're going to stop these houses from being built. We just let them build slightly smaller homes. Now I do want to watch the gradient, because now the houses are getting a little slanted, so starting here will leave a little distance between. On this hill, we'll put a few more trees. Mind you, I'm doing this with the place multiple tool. And already, you can see this is starting to look nice, because when you imagine these houses over there, it's going to be very nice. Now there's extreme demand in the commercial district, so we're going to continue to develop that. And let's see what we already have. We have actually a very good variety of items being sold here. And again, there's now growth wanting to be made in the industrial sector. And as we see, there's some space here. So even in the industrial areas, especially in the industrial areas, it's important to have trees. Now we just have to continue placing homes, commercial, and industrial, and would eventually level up. Also, it's important to note that we are actually exporting electric, keeping our deficit from going too low. An additional note is we do have a deficit, so we want to try and fix that, and the main way to fix that early game is by getting more income from tax. Now along here, I think this would be a very nice place to put a cul-de-sac and maybe some kind of basketball park in the future. Now I am noticing the back of these houses starting to go up, but we'll fix that later with another road behind it and using the gradient tool. In the meantime, we can continue placing homes. So far, this isn't looking too bad.
The dryer has finished running.
Now again, there's more growth, and I don't really want to build any more this way, as much as I want to build more deep into the area that's already developed. So we're just going to take another road, and we're going to leave space for a few trees, and just build it to the edge. Now if you remember, I built my power lines along here, and that is actually why I am unable to build on this time. So we'll actually fix that by bringing the power lines here. Problem is solved, and now we can continue building. We're going to make this a little longer to fill out the area. And about here, I think we can actually add a small road that connects the two. Now I actually just messed up the zoning here somehow. So we can actually fix that by just pausing the game and rebuilding the road. Now it keeps happening, so usually the fix for this is to go to the snapping tools and turn them all off, leaving on only snap to zoning length, snap to 90-degree angles, and snap to existing geometry, the first three. That will do. This allows you to build it without any issues, actually. And of course we have to rezone this so that the buildings do not get deleted. Now we can actually go here and zone those up. And now we can make our connecting road. Now there is a little road going down here that we're not going to need, so we'll just get rid of it. Right here, we'll just put a few things here. Now this is a new tool in the new update. We can get rid of the zone here so that it fills out here. Actually going to use that. Now we can just build waterfront restaurants, and honestly, I don't know the difference, but it's on the water now, so. And we'll just go back in again with our trees to make the area a little nicer. And here we'll use the multi-tool. And something to note that we actually can't see now because we haven't progressed. Typically, commercial is the biggest tax-paying money, so you get a lot of money from commercial districts initially. Now again here, I know there's a sewage pump, but we'll move that later once we progress further and get more tools. But I think it's good to add a cul-de-sac here again, just because it makes turning around easier, and it's a nice thing for people to play at, even if it's not a mechanic in the game. As you can see, most of these houses have finished building in, so the demand is again high. So we'll do the same thing, like I said, staying in the same kind of area, building homes. We'll go here, and we'll start there. Now that we've fulfilled that demand, as we can see, because we still have more homes, they just got built in. Guess we'll just make another one then. New road. Additionally, I do like to leave the trees here because, say, traffic becomes an issue, I will be able to put a roundabout if I believe even medium. We don't have medium roundabouts yet. Again, now that we're seeing demand, we'll just build a few more homes. Now again, we'll see the gradient's gonna become an issue, but again, we'll fix that. Additionally, more production capacity is required, so we'll just build that now. Now this building's in the way. I think we'll leave it for now, because we will have enough space to fill out the capacity needed, but eventually we might want to consider getting rid of it. And again, I think I might use the tool here to keep the zoning more consistent. This will allow us to have bigger buildings and less of them. And now, I want them to ideally be facing the same way, so we'll just get rid of that. The problem should be solved if we get rid of it and build it again. We'll do the same thing here, building a few more buildings, or at least zoning for them. And we'll see that demand is quickly being used, so we might actually have to delete this to keep it all in the same area. Now later in the game we should be able to place one back down if we want. It might actually be here. No, I guess not. That's fine. We'll get rid of it for now, so that we can build more buildings. Because like I said, at the moment there's not much we can do except just build more capacity and zone. Again, we're going to use the zoning tool and fix this up. Looks like production capacity has been satisfied. Now again, we see that people want more homes and more commercial. So we'll continue doing the same thing. But we have to fill in this spot first. And then I think we can build more here. Now to counteract the gradient here, what we're going to have to do is leave a little distance even between the light blue circle showing where the zoning is. Now again, to keep it consistent though, and keep it on the same angle, I am going to just come off of here and build that there. Then from here we'll get a node. We can expand it that way. Now you see that the road is now off, but we'll delete that one now and fix it there. And again, we'll use the nose opening tool. That was fast. That now we have our new milestone. So we have new services. One of these services is garbage management, and that will allow us to build a landfill. I'm going to place a landfill by the industrial area because I want to keep it away from where people and businesses are. You can see that there's a red circle around it, and that shows the effective area of where it'll leave pollution. So I want to keep that away from people and buildings as well as I can. So for that, we're going to put it right here. Additionally, I'm not going to give it storage capacity. This is because it actually has processing capacity, and it should be more than enough to begin with. The next thing that I would like to do is handle death care and health care. For this city, even though it's growing fast, I think it makes sense to only build a small medical clinic. It does only have a fourth of the capacity and many less ambulances, but it is half the price and should be more than enough for now. So for that, we're going to place it here in the trees to keep everything nice and tidy. Additionally, it's on a main road, which is beneficial. The next thing I'm going to do is zone in low-density houses because we have a lack of labor. And while I do that, I'll explain why I am not going to use row housing, what we just got from our milestone.
The main reason I'm opting not to use row housing is because it has a lot of issues. The main reason that it has issues is that it just takes up so much parking. And I just don't want to deal with that now. Additionally, we are going to be getting normal-sized, medium-density housing with parking in the next milestone. Plus, I want to just focus on smaller houses for now. In summary, we started our city, made a lot of progress, and laid out the infrastructure for the rest of our city. Anyways, that's the end of this video, and I really want to thank you for watching through the whole thing. It really means a lot. In the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them down below, and have yourself a great day.